Hey everyone, Chris Collard here with Adventure Architects, currently in South America, Uruguay to be specific. Traveling, it came down to manage the temporary import permit on our 4Runner. But a lot of people, dream about traveling overseas, overlanding for extended periods of time, and there's a lot of discussion on what you actually need or what you don't need. We see a lot of people out there with just about every possible thing they could bolt on a vehicle, which can be cool. I mean, all that stuff comes in handy at times, but do you really need it? So I wanted to give you a walk around on our 4Runner here. I don't really have a name for it yet. I just call it the SA 4Runner for the South America 4Runner because we keep it down here. And I say we, that's myself and Christian Pelletier of Expedition Portal. We purchased the vehicle in 2017 from a couple that had been traveling, and they got down to Santiago, Chile, and decided they were done. So they put it up for sale. Christian and I bought it, and we've been using it for trips down here. So it's a pretty cool car. It's a 2001 Toyota 4Runner. It's got 291,000 miles on it. We just put a few thousand miles on it since we bought it. But, Toyota's just so reliable. It's got the 3.4 V6, fuel injected, which is a super reliable motor, and an automatic transmission. And other than that, it's a stock 4Runner. We're going to take a walk around, start with the Rooftop Tent, and then we'll move around from there. So this is a Tepui tent. I don't remember the model name, but there are a lot of things I like about it. The windows on the side, and they've got them on each side. They fold out, and what that does, it allows you to not only be able to see outside, but allows for great ventilation. Nice. I also like the vestibule on the back. It provides a great little overhang where your ladder comes up, and a little space in there you can sit with your feet, take your boots off or your shoes off, and not be getting rained on. Also, I don't have them on right now, but I have the enclosure which zips on right here, and you can make a room that's about 4 feet by 8 feet wide, which is really nice to have an enclosed space. It also has a floor with it. If you're camped in areas with a lot of people, or there's just a lot of rain and you need to get a little enclosed space to set up your kitchen, it's really nice to have this zip on walls and enclosure. So inside it's pretty nice. I mean, there's a ton of room in here. For one person, it's cavernous. For two people, there's plenty of room, not only for the people and their pillows, but also enough room to put bags on the end because it's rather long, or it makes a nice little office space. Also use you see it up there on top, that is a Lucy light, and these things are just awesome. It's just a solar powered camp light, and man, they work. You just put them out in the sun and they'll stay on all night. They'll stay on for a couple of nights actually if you leave them on the medium setting. So this is the tent. Definitely provides a comfortable place to sleep or work on your computer. So down below, we've got some BF Goodrich KO2 all-terrain tires. They're a 31-10-5 by 15, so it's a real common size, easy to get just about anywhere in the world. But it's just an awesome tire. And they came out with this tire about 7 years ago. I've driven the crud out of them, raced on them, you name it. So excellent tire for overland travel. And the thing is, you don't really need like a big monster tire. For one, it's going to cut on your fuel economy. And in places like Uruguay, fuel is $6 a gallon. Not the most I paid. I think I paid $12 a gallon for fuel in Zambia about 15 years ago. So, big tires are also really hard to source if you actually shred one or tear one up. So having a more of a standard size tire is really good for international travel. So if we move underneath, we've got an Old Man Emu suspension. This was on the vehicle when we bought it. Just a really good suspension, and it's got tough springs, it's got tough shocks, it's got good damping on compression and rebound. So this has been really good for this vehicle, and especially because we do have, you know, a fairly significant amount of weight in it between the tent and all of the gear that is in the back that we're going to go through in a minute. So moving to the inside of the cabin in the front, it's all stock. Always keep my documents right next to the seat. You get pulled over, you can pull those out easily. Up here we've got the T-Max dual battery system. So it's a kind of a charge controller. Manages the engine battery or the start battery and the house battery. We've got a set of Realtree seat covers, which are high quality, waterproof, and that's what you need when you're getting in and out and inclement weather. I also have a club steering wheel lock, which I hope it works well. You know, I mean, a pro would have this thing off in about 15 seconds, but you know, for the average hoodlum, they work really well, I believe. So we always use that when we are parked in town in an area that you know, we're going to walk away from the vehicle for too long. Just throw it on. It takes 2 seconds to get it back off. In the back, because you need extra storage, the stock seats take up a ton of room, and the folks that had this before us made a kind of a cool area that doubles actually as a seat, still has seat belts in it, if you need to put some extra people in. I mean, they're not luxury comfortable, but you know, they definitely work. But utilize that space for storage for a bunch of other stuff. So I like to travel while I store my sleeping bag down there in a dry bag. I also always like to have my boots handy in case I need to actually put them on and not run around in my Tevas. A couple of small pillows, grocery bags. These have become popular in the United States now, but they've been for a long time in other countries because they just don't give you free bags. And a couple of spare parts. One other important thing, of course you need your mosquito repellent and your sunscreen, is to keep a log of contacts, vehicle maintenance, that when things were done, mileage, oil changes, so you don't forget. I always keep that right behind the seat. Right there. Yeah, we'll put that back later. So these cushions come out just like that. I'm gonna take them out real quick. The cushions out, it reveals, yeah, plywood covered in like some indoor, outdoor, kind of a felt carpet material, I guess. But behind these panels is storage. Security is always a question, so there are locks on everything. So you have places to store things that are secure. If somebody does bust a window out, they're gonna have to work a little bit harder to get to your stuff. So in here we've got tarps and some sleeping stuff, mountain money, and the toolbox. This is kind of our garage area, part of it. Hardware, and this is a Pelican case with not a full selection of tools, but you know, fairly comprehensive. So we've got all kinds of pliers, snap ring pliers, electrical, fuses, wire, a whole different selection of tapes, Teflon tape, double-sided sticky tape, electrical tape, and we have duct tape in the back. Lots of rubber gloves. Make sure you've got lots of shop gloves, because you're not going to have the ability to the luxury of, you know, washing up in a normal shop sink, so you're going to try to keep yourself as clean as possible. Oh, just dropped those. All right, other things, standard ratchets, super important. You're going to need a multimeter, extra stuff, got lug nuts and studs, breaker bar, a couple of files, and then some standard tools, oil filter wrench, which is super handy for this particular vehicle. Yeah, so you're gonna need tools. You got to sort those out, just like specialty tools that you need for your vehicle, in addition to standard tools. But the ones that they may not have, or you may, you know, not be able to get down here, like this vehicle has a 35 millimeter nut for the front axle hub nut, so you definitely need to have one of those. Extra light bulbs, and we've got some measuring tape and a couple of wire wheels, and those are for the drill, which we store on the other side. So tools, don't leave home without them. You are also going to want a shop manual for your vehicle, because as much as we want to think we know all about our cars, this is where you find out the details when you got to actually take something apart. And on the driver's side, got your South American Road Atlas. Storage. This side, we've got the enclosure for the tent. Just miscellaneous stuff. We got some Tupperware, a gallon of windshield washer fluid, which it's not a requirement, and this is an extension cord, and the extension cord is for one of the other systems here. We've got a small inverter, which is good. You're going to need that, especially for doing things like charging laptops and whatnot. Over here we've got our solar charge controller. We've got a 100-watt, not a thin film, but looks like something like a panel that Merlin might have put out. So we've got a charge controller for that, which works great because that works with our secondary battery down here. It's our kind of our electrical systems grid. So we've got a battery that runs down to connections with the main. So when we leave this vehicle, we disconnect secondary battery, have topped off, and I was really lucky that when I came back this year, I had an alternator go out, and the second battery back here still had enough power to start the car. So yeah, it's our small electrical system. This seat, the hard plywood seat, comes out. Take that out here, and underneath we find plenty of more storage. You can always have more storage, but so some super important things here. We have a small air compressor. This is just like an inexpensive $50 like Husky air compressor. It'd be super nice to have like an ARB unit under the hood, but this came with a vehicle, and it still works. It's painfully slow, but it works. Drill, use this a bunch of times. Hardware. So these are things, it's a 4Runner, and everything down out of America is metric, but I brought down a pretty good selection of Toyota hardware. Came off of out of a wrecker. Went to a wrecker and said, hey, can I have some of your bolts that you throw away? And they said yes. Got a shaker hose, for siphon. A good selection of drill bits. Super important, guys, because you can't find stuff in many parts of the world. You want a certain size drill bit, you want an attachment, you want like those wire brushes. So what we've done is every time we come down, we bring more stuff, or at least we have a checklist of things that you need. Extra belts, little 2-pound hammer, pickle fork, just in case you need to, pull the ball joints off, which we have done. Duct tape. Sorry, this is Gorilla Tape. Gotta love your Gorilla Tape. Gonna move around to the other side. And on the other side, we got either wheel chocks or little spacers if you need to level out the vehicle. And this is where we keep a lot of the spare parts. So we've got a full set of bearings, U-joints, ball joints, tool kit, excuse me for that, wire brush, extra parts. Anyway, bring stuff for your vehicle. You gotta have it in your vehicle. Also have a fuel pump down here. So there's things that fuel pump, water pump, starter, alternator, those things that, if the rest of the engine keeps running and those things go bad, you're going to be stuck somewhere. So good to carry extra parts. One more spot to look at, the secret storage compartment. So you'll notice everything has locks on it, right? And I think that, if I remember, they all use the same key. But it's kind of important. Security is always something you need to be thinking about, whether you're camping just in a remote, lonely spot like I am now when you think nobody's ever going to come by, or if you're parked in the middle of town, because there's all kinds of opportunists. So this is kind of like a really cool storage compartment. Not only you got to take the lock off, you've also got to push this bar down. It won't open unless you push this little bar down. So a lot of creative design from the guy that owned this vehicle. So more storage. I just happen to have a first aid kit and some miscellaneous stuff in here, but that is a great place to store stuff. And thus far I actually haven't had any aduana agents or border agents ask me to open that, but not that I keep anything in there that I shouldn't be keeping in there. So yeah, got a lot of stuff happening behind the front seat. And then there's the galley. So for a guy that worked in a restaurant for 4 years as a cook and assistant chef, you know, it's not commercial grade, but it has like everything that you need. You know, doesn't have a big broiler, doesn't have a big stove, doesn't have a pressure cooker or a big commercial oven, but let's take a little walk through the kitchen. So I brought down this really cool Coleman white gas stove. It's a model 425, but I didn't realize there's quite a few countries where it's really difficult to get white gas. I actually have not been using that because I could not find fuel for it, so I probably will take this back to the States, and I think I have one of the model 414s, which is dual fuel, which will run happily on unleaded fuel. So basically back here we've got place for a couple of camp chairs, our towels. This is a pretty cool little mat. This was here with the vehicle up in the tent, but I've used this as a threshold, place to lay down on when I'm working on a vehicle, set it down on the ground. We've got our tent storage, our poles. This is our kitchen that we're using. This is a MSR type gas stove. Uses the butane or isobutane. Very simple. We do have pots and pans, but this is what I've been using. This little cool backpacking super light aluminum kit. Storage wise, we've got all the standard stuff. Always need a lot of Ziploc bags. So every time you go down to your vehicle or head out, Ziploc bags are handy for so many things. Bowls, plates, kitchen towels, and toilet paper, and all that good stuff. A couple of coffee cups, scrubby pads. This is kind of a nice feature. This was done by people we bought the vehicle from. It's a fold-out table. Latches in right down here on the bumper because you're never parked in completely level, and wind wants to blow it around. Underneath that, another large drawer. Got these towels to keep everything from rattling around. So, yeah, got all the basic stuff. We got bowls, pans, more fuel, a large skillet, coffee maker. Yeah, I don't call them Pringles, but Pringles. Yeah, the nice thing to have is some good Tupperware style storage containers to keep your stuff from rattling around, but keep them organized and clean. And then the magic. I know people that have traveled for 20 years and they travel without refrigeration or a cooler, but call me spoiled. We've got the ARB fridge freezer. I think this is their 50 quart or 50 liter. Have plenty of room for beer, bread, meat, all that good stuff. I've been using the ARB coolers for, well, a long time, at least 15 years. Before they came out with this one, I still have my original ARB cooler in the back of my Tacoma at home. Up here, all right, so miscellaneous stuff. Bug spray. You are going to get bugs, so you're going to want ant traps and bug spray, because when you leave your vehicle stored, I don't know how it happens, but man, they just figure out how to get in. Olive oil. This handy little storage compartment here rolls out and opens up into other stuff. So we got spare oil, brake cleaner, brake fluid, power steering fluid, WD-40, all that normal stuff. And this nice big drawer up here slides out, and that's basically the pantry where we keep food. Gotta have your peanut butter. They don't call it peanut butter in South America, they call it manteca de pane. Yep. So a little pantry area for food. So back in here we've got our ARB plug repair kit. Those are ant traps. Little windshield wiper fluid, spare containers. Moving down here, it's where the fun stuff. We got a nice hammock. Hang that between a couple of palm trees. Recovery strap. It's an ARB recovery strap. Got a set of masks and fins and snorkels. Little compartments like this is where you keep things like tent stakes. You just find space for all this stuff. A couple of funnels back here. And on the other side, we've got, so these are also like leveling blocks, but also use them for putting the jack on. Like I had to jack the vehicle up, I was doing the brakes, so I definitely want something you can give a little bit more footing underneath your jack. And other cool stuff, walking sticks. These are required. These are the little road triangles, and they are required in most countries in South America. There's my shovel, and it pretty much kind of covers the back of the vehicle. So all the basics, a lot of stuff that you need, nothing that you don't need. It's always something that's interesting because there's always something that you realize that you need, and you're like, you know what, I need to, next time you basically keep a checklist. Next time I come down, or next time I'm in a town, you find a big store, a hardware store, or a parts store. It's like you take that checklist out and you fill it, because you're gonna be out here by yourself on some remote beach and need something, and hopefully it's not something that keeps your vehicle running. So does this vehicle have everything? No. It's definitely for self-travel. I would love to get like an ARB bull bar in the front, and a good quality Warn winch. I mean, those are two key things. I could also use, I might see if I can bring them down next time, is a good set of Max Tracks are awesome. And then for self-travel, a lot of people aren't familiar with ground anchors, but a good ground anchor, like actually there's only one that's really good, and that's the Pole Pal. Would be a nice addition for this. They do take up a lot of space, and that's the problem with them. I don't have a lot of space in this vehicle, but they work. So yeah, maybe set some of the future upgrades for the SA 4Runner as a new winch and a bumper for the front. All right, so that wraps up our walk around of the SA 4Runner. Glad you could join us. Hopefully we left maybe a little bit of a tidbit of information that you can use, or maybe just to realize that if you follow your dreams, you can do whatever you like. So yeah, this vehicle, I think we paid $3,500 for it, and it costs some money to maintain it and keep it down here, but not an exceptionally expensive thing to do. So if you had the dream, chase it. All right, cheers.